river sand. So what we'd be doing is trenching through that center layer to allow better drainage down to the lower section that's the free draining river sand. So unfortunately, we don't have the benefit of going through proper contracting through our policy, our purchasing policy. We do have this avenue through an emergency funding, allowing the district to contract without competitive bidding. It would be time and material based on prevailing wage standards from the state, so it's going to be the same pretty much from everybody. The material would be paid for directly by the district, so there wouldn't be any markup on the material. Once this pond is done, we'll be returning for a contract for the other 2 ponds. However, the information gained from this pond will help us design and prepare the repairs for contracting for the other 2 ponds, which, assuming that this pond is free draining at that point, we would have enough time to go through the proper contracting channels to secure a contractor for the other 2 ponds through competitive bid. So again, what we're asking for is for the board to make a finding based on substantial evidence set forth in the minutes of the meeting, which would be the minutes of this meeting, that the emergency will not permit a delay resulting from a competitive solicitation for bids, and that the action is necessary to respond to the emergency. And 2, approve resolution 2025-16 authorizing the general manager to negotiate and execute a design build contract with Viborg Sand and Gravel for immediate repairs to the percolation pond number 2 at the Machado wastewater treatment facility. Any questions?
I've got one. I see trucks and everything going in there, and a lot of them is the liquid. And I see you put it in, that 1,000-gallon plastic tank and then treat it and so on. And most of the, after it's aerated and everything, a lot of that stuff goes to the perk pond. Is that correct?
So through the treatment process, the solids are broken down or eaten.
Right.
And then primarily a liquid is what's being produced from that, which goes to the percolation ponds.
Right. So my question is, who and how much do we get paid? I've seen truckloads of solids dumped in at least one of those perk ponds. You see the piles.
We do not dump anything in those percolation ponds.
Well,
that would be an immediate violation of our permit.
Well, what I'm trying to tell you, Kelly, you know as well as I do, you can see the piles where the trucks have dumped.
Are you talking about the one in the corner of the treatment plant?
The first one as you go in, you got 1, 2, and 3,
The one you
right?
can see from the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's a drawing bed for solid material.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about.
Well, you said you had 3 perk ponds,
Yeah,
1,
the
2,
three
and 3.
north of that. So when you come into the treatment plant and you look to the right, there's a pond over there. That's a drawing bed for solid material.
Right.
If you go north from there, there's 3 other ponds
Okay, 3
that
other.
are for effluent, the liquid from the treatment process.
Okay, well,
The second one's empty.
The second one's empty because we've been drawing it for several months trying to get
Page
it to a point where it
270
works.
has a picture.
There's a map on 270.
yeah, okay. Well, I guess my other question is, I know we're taking a lot of outside waste. How much are we getting paid for it?
We get paid us 11 cents a gallon for it. If you
Okay,
look at we can look at the revenue report from April, and you can see how much we've received so far this year.
what page?
137
Is it to our advantage when we're in the situation we're in?
is what
The 11 cents a gallon?
they're paying what it costs us to treat it. So we're not making
Breaking even.
we're not making a ton of money, but it's not costing us anything to take it. And I guess we're making a little bit of money on it, but it's not like we're making thousands and thousands of dollars above what we need for them to treat it, or to treat it.
So and remind me why we're taking it?
It's just an additional revenue source for us.
But it's a break even.
Yes and no. It's not as simple as that, because you have the cost to treat it through the treatment process, and we have the cost of disposing of solids.
Is this related to the emergency repairs?
Not really.
Well, I mean, if we're taking material that is it's impacting our process,
Is the
and we're
material
having
we're
to do an
taking
emergency
impacting the process?
repair.
So the material we're taking from septic haulers is not, everything impacts our process. The problem we have that is really impacting our process is that in 2007, they didn't do additional mitigation to go through the layers below the 4 feet that they took out. If they had done that, we wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
I would suggest, if you want to have a further discussion on why we're taking additional waste that
That's
is
fine.
not from our system, we should put it on a separate agenda
Okay.
to have that discussion.
Question, so it's been 18 years since the last mitigation efforts have occurred, right? So will we still be utilizing these ponds with the new plant design?
So we will be with the new treatment plant, we'll be using these ponds and 3 additional ponds.
Okay.
So the other benefit of doing this overall mitigation for these 3 ponds is that information will be used to design the 3 new ponds that will be built sometime in the future.
Okay. And these efforts, if successful, do we expect that a particular service life before we would be mitigating again?
I would imagine that if these are successful, that we would probably have probably 40 years, 30 to 40 years before we have to do something else. When the new treatment plant is online, the amount of solids that are making their way to these ponds would be considerably less, so the loading will be considerably less. We'll have 3 additional ponds, so the loading per pond or per acre will be considerably less.
Okay.
So that in itself will extend the life of all these ponds. As we sit right now, mitigating these 3 ponds will probably ensure 30 to 40 years of uninhibited use. And like I said, it'll help us design the next one so we don't have this problem in 30 years after we install the next ones.
Okay. The expectation is we gain knowledge in doing this work now with this particular pond, that we could potentially reduce the cost of the other 2 ponds, and obviously going through the bidding process, but get people to sharpen their pencils anyway. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, Jim? Anything else from you guys? No. Any public comment on this? Okay.
So just to be clear, there's 2 action items. You have to make an emergency finding first before you take action on the contract and expenditure.
I move that we make an emergency finding, move forward.
I started. Okay. So the first one is make an emergency finding. Motion by Director Smiley, second by Director Beatty. We'll have a vote. Director Green?
Yes.
Director Beatty?
Yes.
Director Davis?
Yes.
Director Smiley?
Yes.
Director Sangster?
Yes.
Okay. Got one thing down. I need a motion for approving the 140, not to exceed 140,000.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Director Smiley to, what is this, as stated, let's put as stated out. Second by Director Beatty.
No, it was green.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't looking up. Director Davis?
Yes.
Director Green?
Yes.
Director Smiley?
Yes.
Director Beatty?
Yes.
Director Sangster?
Yes.
Passes 5-0, no absence.
And just for clarification on that one,
Yeah.
per our emergency provisions of purchasing policy, that will come back at the next meeting for review of the board of what took place and what costs were incurred.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we've concluded our agenda items, and we're at board comment. Board comment.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I think it's on here. I'd like to make a motion, put on the next agenda for us to discuss and either vote yes or no on not taking any more outside waste to our treatment plant.
Do we have a second?
I'd like to hear the pros and cons. Yeah.
So, which is it gonna be, a motion to, or an item to accept or not accept, or you want pros and cons? Or,
It sounds like he's asking, are you asking for an action item?
Well, yeah, I think, because to me, I'm really concerned. There's no reason why our little town should be taking outside waste from every place around, you know. We aren't making any money on it. So I personally think we should take an action to vote, either keep bringing it in or stop bringing it in.
okay,
Second that? Okay.
okay.
We do have a second?
Yeah.
Green?
Green.
I'm sorry, yes. No nodding. Is that all you got?
Yeah? You got anything?
Yeah, I would like to get a consensus from the board to review our 218 voting authentication process and possibly create a policy regarding how that business is conducted.
I think that's already on our list.
It is on our list.
It's on your list for,
It was already requested before.
Yes, it is on the list to bring that forward.
did I ask for it before?
You might
I
have,
think it might have been you. I actually think it might have been Director
When is
Davis,
it
actually.
coming? Before the next 218 process.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
next one for the district would be the wastewater one. It was going to be before that.
When's that coming?
That one's probably not coming for probably 6 months or a year. We can prioritize this if this is the board's request.
Well, I mean, it takes it seems to take a couple of months to
Yeah.
get it all ironed out.
Well, based on the outcome of the water rate study, it was the board's direction to have a more robust 218 policy. So it was going to come before the next 218 for the district.
Is there an update on landscape? I know it's coming.
It's coming. I've gone back and forth with the county. I'm trying to get them to either tell me to go pound sand or to make some sort of commitment.
Have you been able to speak to Mr. Pichon?
I've talked to Lori, his assistant,
Yeah,
and we're working on it.
I'll be back.
I'll be waiting for you.
We talked about the Mission Street lighting, right? Oh, there was did somebody make a request for phone records? Was that?
I don't recall a request for phone record.
Director Davis had requested a list of employees with phones or positions with issued phones, and if we had, and it came at the last meeting or the meeting before, there was a listing of the phones, and it was
Yes.
decided that they were all being used,
Right.
and there weren't,
It seems to me that there was a inquiry about phone records?
For,
Or anything like that?
Adele?
No, it's on our roster, is what came up, that all the cell phone numbers are on our, everywhere.
Sorry, I was scribbling. I would like to look into, I'd like to get a consensus from the board about placing GPS on district vehicles.
Bring it back as an item of,
I would like to look at options and, yeah. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
so you're asking for an item to come back for the board to discuss options.
For putting GPS on our equipment, all of our equipment.
All of our
Yeah,
equipment,
not necessarily,
because we have trucks.
I'm talking about trucks, I'm talking about, trailers, no. I'm talking about,
that's gonna be tractors.
we have a mini excavator, don't we?
Yeah, we have tractors, we have trailers.
Everything,
we have-
everything that's mobile, everything on wheels,
I mean, everything is mobile.
right, everything
It's
on
all
wheels,
right.
everything on wheels,
Okay.
Wheelbarrows.
not wheelbarrows.
Yeah, that's the only thing somebody hasn't tried to steal. Too much work, I guess.
The compressor, if we had a GPS on the, not the
It didn't go very far, it
compressor.
went across the bridge.
The welder, yeah, I know. I thought I was gonna solve that one, but I drove by that barn twice, looking, trying to look
It's the
through
wrong
the
side of
door.
it. You have anything else?
Not at this time, but we'll talk next month.
I would like to bring back the month-over-month fees that we pay to Fluid Resource Management. And I don't recall, I wasn't on the board at the time, I'm sure it was approved, but a copy of the resolution as well.
So you want the monthly fees for fluid resource management and what else?
The resolution
That authorized to use that?
correct.
You want that to come to the board or you just want that information?
Probably the board, I would
Yeah,
guess.
bring it back to the board.
Because I mean, I can provide the information to the board through email, but if you want it to come to a board meeting, then we need to.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing it here in the meeting.
In a meeting? Yeah. For discussion?
We have a second?
Yeah.
That's all I've got. Board comment? Okay, I guess we're adjourned.
To a closed session.
Oh, public comment on closed session?
Public comment, not adjourned. Any public comment?
Closed session? No? Okay,
No.
now you can adjourn.
9:06.
Thank you.